Hey, this is Chris DiLaurenti. I'm going to show you basic mixing in Adobe Audition CS6. We're going to layer files, adjust panning, and adjust volume. Here we're in Waveform Editor view. You'll see we have three files that have already been loaded and ready to go. If you want to know how to load files or to open files, look at the previous video. So we want to create a multi-track mix. We want to layer these files and visually see how we are going to adjust the relative panning, volume, and placement of the files. To do that, we need to go into multi-track mode. So we click on View Multi-Track Editor, and here it asks us for a session name. This is kind of a pain. However, this is also good so we can actually see where we're going to store our files and the session. And so I'll hit Browse, and I'll try and pick a location that makes sense. Keeping track of your files is absolutely crucial. Let's use basic mixing in Audition 6. Let's use that one right there. It's absolutely crucial because after you've layered all your files and you've saved it in a session, sometimes it can just disappear. So Audition is going to create a multi-track session for us, and we're going to see a window, and look, we see track 1, track 2, track 3. To navigate in this mode, there are a couple things you should know. If you go all the way to the right, you'll notice at the far right of the screen I've got the scroll bar highlighted. I'm left clicking with the mouse, single clicking if you've got a one button Mac mouse, and you'll see that it scrolls us down to 6 tracks. Actually, you can have an unlimited number of tracks, but here we probably only need 5 or 6. If your mouse has a scroll button, you can also scroll as well. So first we want to figure out how are we going to place files. To do that, it's very simple. Go to the left-hand file pane window, hold down the left mouse button, and while you're still holding down the left mouse button, drag the file over, and look, it appears as a magic golden radiant bar. And you'll see that the timeline tells you where the file is going to be placed. So let's drop for Phoenix for HAG.wave on track 1. Let's place it right there. The next file I think we'll grab, let's grab the WinWindow file and just put it on track 2 and have it start at the very beginning. We'll place it right there. And then finally the third file at Occupy.wave. Let's drag that down here. Now, you'll note that some files are much longer than others. The timeline shows that the file at Occupy is very brief, less than 20 seconds, while this file on track 2 right here is much longer. To actually get a full view of your session, you can do a couple of things. You can go to the zoom pane down here, and you'll see that you can zoom out, you can zoom in. I also like to use the keyboard controls. You can use Alt minus and Alt plus to get different views. So you'll see what is more convenient for you. So, 3 remaining things. First, we see that some files are much longer than others. In this scenario, I only want to write a piece that's maybe 20 seconds. And I want to use the @occupy file as sort of the determining length for the piece. So first I want to move the file. So to move the file, I simply take the cursor and place it over the little name bar, hold down the left mouse button, and while still holding down the left mouse button, I move left or right and move it along the track. You can move it up or down another track just simply by motion of the mouse. Now I have this for possible WinWindow. That too is already lined up, but I don't want to use that entire file. In fact, what I can do is I can actually clip and cut part of that file. To do that, I'll simply move the cursor here, make sure I know exactly where I want to cut, and here you can move this little nugget and it sort of scrubs and plays a little bit of the sound. I think I want to chop it about right there. Now I'm going to go up to the various cursors that are here. You'll notice it's in the upper left, almost centerish, and I'll pick the time selection tool. So I've selected the time selection tool, and I've placed it, right there. And now I'm going to hit Control K. it splits the file in two. This is the file that I don't want, portion of the file I don't want. I hit delete, it's gone. Now, I want to line up the Phoenix Festival window, so I take the cursor, and you'll notice how the little I bar, right, the time selection tool, becomes the movement arrow, little moving arrow, when you grab the little title bar of the file and you slide it to the right. I also want to do a similar cut and trim operation, so I'll also hit Control K again. It separates the file, and I hit delete, boom, gone. Now, to make two more final adjustments, let's adjust volume and let's adjust the panning. To do that, let's zoom in a little bit, and you'll see this yellow line is going to be your volume, and the blue line, although on my Mac it shows up as gray, so it may look a little different, but the volume line is always going to be a little bit above here, and your pan line is going to be a little bit beneath. So let's zoom in just a little bit more and see what adjustments we can make. So to make an adjustment, I actually like to go back to the move tool here, just so I always have a pointer at my beck and call. So I'm going to click on the volume line, and I create what Adobe calls a keyframe. Back in the old days, or in the previous version, we just called it a volume point. But a volume keyframe, and you'll note that it gives you a value. It glows yellow, and if you hold down the left mouse button while the pointer is on top of the little point, you can adjust the volume, and you can make it, you can actually add volume to make it louder, increasing it, you'll see the plus sign, or you can actually have it begin from silence. You should note that in most mixes, this is we've got 20 seconds and maybe 3 or 4 volume points. In most of the work that I make, quite often in such a span of time, 20-30 seconds, there would be at least 10 or 12, sometimes even more. It all depends on how you want to shape the amplitude, the loudness of the sound. Okay, now let's go to panning. Now panning, of course, determines how much of the sound appears in the left or right channel. So again, we look for pan, we click once, left clicking, we create a point. We left click again, create another point, and we can actually move and sculpt the sound in time. You'll notice you'll have tooltips switched on, and you'll see R, R, R. The bigger the number, the higher the percentage of the sound mixed into the right channel, right? Or here, the higher percentage of the sound mixed into the left channel, and you can make the sound rocket around. On one record I mixed where there were songs that were 4 to 6 seconds long, there would be 400 to 500 pan points per song, because it was a very, very crazy mix. So if you go ahead and make these adjustments to volume and panning, and also how you want to position, and also determine how you want to position your files relative to each other, you can start to make a nice multi-track mix. In the next video, I'm going to show you how to create a mixdown.